Hi, I'm Randy Farris, Central Academy of Excellence head basketball coach, and I'm here for Cascade Sports, which is the home of the student athlete. And this week I want to begin to talk to you about several different topics, but I want to start with the role models for student athletes that we have in Kansas City, and there are a lot of them, but two guys that I want to mention because I think that they are really good role models in all levels of life, not just in their professional life and in the job that they do, but with their families and with their involvement in the community. The first person I want to bring up as a role model for kids, and he's a baseball player, but I think he's an excellent role model for basketball players. That we have all started our seasons in basketball now, and the really good thing that I've noticed in this city is kids that 2 years ago didn't follow baseball at all, didn't have a Royals cap, didn't own a Royals jersey. They're now really high on the Royals, really wearing their things all around town. I think that's a great, speaks great for the Royals, not just because they won, but because they've got a lot of really good young men playing for them who are good role models. And to me, one of the best of those role models is Lorenzo Cain. Lorenzo Cain's attitude when he plays is exactly what we want kids in all sports to exhibit. He brings a passion for what he does. He brings a desire to get better and better. You know, just 4 years ago, he was a minor league player, and he's worked hard to where he finishes in the MVP ballot. The last 2 years, he finishes in the top 5 in the MVP. So he's a great role model, but then he's a great family man also. He just had his little baby during the World Series last year, and then during the celebrations as we went along in the end of the season this year, he had his wife and child out there on the field with him. And then the best thing about Lorenzo Cain is that smile. He is always showing that smile. He's happy to be what he's doing. He's happy to be where he is in life, and he makes the best of his situation. So I think he's a good role model for us to point out to our players and our student athletes. But I think he's a great role model for our entire city, and his enthusiasm and the way he conducts himself has been great for the city. The second person, much for the same reasons that I'd like to mention, is Bobby Kendrick, who's the head of the Negro League Baseball Museum. I was lucky enough to attend their 25th anniversary gala a couple of weeks ago, and what a thing that was, with Hank Aaron there and several other players that are Hall of Famers. It was such a great situation, and I got to sit and talk with several people that, you know, just really inspired me. But that's all put together by Bobby Kendrick, who basically keeps that candle lit that was originally lit by Buck O'Neill, but now Bobby Kendrick keeps it together. And I'm sorry, Bob, for saying Bobby, but Bob Kendrick and I know each other from when he was a reporter at Park College when I was the head coach there. And on his byline then, he was Bobby Kendrick, so that's why I always use the word Bobby. But Bob Kendrick has been so good for this community. He came, when I used to coach at Grandview High School, he came out and spoke at our basketball banquet one year, and he was just great. So here's another guy that's involved with baseball, but he's a great role model for our community as a whole, and obviously he's a great role model for the basketball players that, you know, I care so much about at Central High School. So how can our young men use these role models to better themselves? One thing that I think is kind of lacking all throughout our society, and some of the things that we read about in the paper that are happening all over the country, young people today are not, it's not pointed out to them that you've got to pay dues. You've got to come up in life, and you've got to start somewhere before you can end where you want to end. And that's kind of the way, you know, the young kids don't like it when us old guys say, well, back in the day we did such and such. But in coaching is a really good example. Of coaching, you don't start out with the best job. You start out with a job and you do well at that one, and then you work your way up, and eventually you get someplace. What does that teach you when you learn to pay dues like that? Well, it builds your self-confidence, because once you realize on a smaller level that you can do well, then when you get to the next level, you're confident that you can handle that as well. And then the second thing is, it puts you in the situations that you're going to need to succeed at those higher levels. I think the children who we're raising today in America, and in some cases the parents, sometimes they're called helicopter parents, I think they're taking this away from their children, of letting them experience paying your dues and moving your way up. this definitely relates to athletes in general and basketball players in specific, because even in a season, you got to pay your dues. In the off season, you got to get in the weight room. You've got to come to summer camp. You've got to participate in the preseason activities. You got to come to practice every day and work hard. And when you do that, you pay the dues, then you can get to the next level. And we're all about, as high school basketball coaches, we're about getting kids to the next level. Real proud that 2 of my kids last year from Central are playing junior college basketball this year. And I'm hoping that more of the players that at Central get to move on and be college basketball players and be college students and become college graduates. But what I'm trying to instill in them, and what I hope we all don't lose sight of, is you've got to pay your dues in order to do that. The other thing that players need to understand, and what I've discovered is my players at Central and pretty much players in the city as a whole, they do a great job of getting extra work in. You can't just go 9 to 5 with your job if you want to succeed and be better. You've got to get extra work in. And the basketball players that I have at Central, and I think throughout the city, they do a great job of getting their extra work in by going to the boys club or the YMCA or the local community centers, and they get their extra shooting in, get their extra playing in. And I think they do a real good job with that, and I'm glad to see that, because that's necessary, because you can't just do the minimum and expect to get the maximum out of your life. You've got to put a little bit more into that. Then another thing that's really a problem right now with the players I have at Central, and I think in the Interscholastic League in the city, we have got to stress every day that the kids have got to hit the books. We have a stringent academic policy in the league, and if the player is carrying 1 F or 2 Ds at any particular time, he's ineligible for 2 weeks. And so we have players that have to sit out because of that, and we're hoping that in enforcing that the players will eventually realize they've got to keep those grades at the C level or above. And I think that will happen in time, but right now we just have to really stress it and make sure that the players know that it's important. Then the last thing I wanted to talk about is the players that we're coaching and all of the student athletes in general. We've got to make sure that they understand that at any time their words have meaning. So what they say to a teacher, what they say to a fellow student, what they say to a referee, what they say to their coaches in interaction with them. Their words all have meaning, and we need to make sure that they understand that there's an assertive way that they need to speak to people, especially in dealings with teachers. They've got to be almost professional in their dealing with teachers and in speaking to them the right way. Some of my players get in trouble in classes, and then whenever I go talk to the teacher and try to sort out what the problem is, generally speaking, it's that those student athletes are not coming at the teacher in the right way and speaking to them in the right way. So that's the other thing that I think we need to do, and basically what I've tried to do is talk about all the ways that we have that are not X's and O's of basketball. It's not teaching a student how to play basketball, but these are things that we can do with the student to help them be total people and better as student athletes. So as I always say when I sign off from my Cascade Sports programs, go hard or go home.
I'm IFBB Bikini Pro Cat Williams, and when I'm not working out in the gym, I'm searching the web on Cascade Media and What's Up Kansas City. So make sure you check them out.